I am super excited to have a guest of mine that we've been longing to do this for quite a while. And I'm going to get her in here so we can at least babble a little bit to make sure everyone's online. Her name is Lynn Tejada. She's
Tejada.
right there. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Roberto? Thank you so much for inviting me to do this with you.
Oh, I'm glad you're actually here and we did it. I mean, it's been
We did it
what? It's been almost 20 years.
a long time, a long time.
Mhm.
Roberto used to live in Los Angeles, and that's how we met decades and decades ago. But I had no idea how long you've been living in Munich. Wow, time flies. That's crazy.
It sure does. I mean, I was it was funny because unfortunately, we made this big deal with our my co-host, and we were really
I know
briefing
Zoe.
ourselves, yeah, briefing ourselves and rehearsing on, just how this should go because it's been such a while, and I had to also, kind of recapture all the years that we spent together in Los Angeles, you know. uh, and yeah, to actually relive and rethink how I wanted to present the show today is turned out to be quite interesting because you have a lot to discuss and a lot of cool stuff for those of you that are creative. Those of you that you may be musicians, you may be a talented graphic designer, what have you. But today, normally it's a music. I do like what I don't know if you ever watched the podcast, Lynn, but for years I've done it for DJs, musicians,
Yeah.
and kind of in the creative world of music. In this case, I kind of shifted a little bit. I wanted to recapture some of the moments and the years of how I got to where I am to doing the podcast. And your name came up somehow. I don't know if it was John, because John was on the show one time, a long time ago, John Tejada. And yeah, so I'm really happy to have this moment with you. And what's the weather
Me
like?
too.
It's like 11, it's 11 a.m. there now, right?
Yeah, it's 11 a.m. in Los Angeles on July 21st. Shout out actually to my sister. It's her birthday today. Happy birthday,
Hap-
sis.
Happy birthday,
And the
sis.
weather, it's a little cloudy, which makes a lot of my friends happy, believe it or not, because you know, the same weather all the time can be monotonous.
Well, let's get into it. I want to kind of invite everybody. Thank you everybody for tuning in to this episode. It's episode 109. I'm very excited again, as I said, because getting doing this kind of a shift with a PR person, a person that has actually started a business and hustled for nearly 2 decades to keep her company. What is it? Is it 3 decades? 3 decades. Green Galactic is what we're talking about here, and we're gonna dive deep into what it takes to actually, run such a business out of. I guess it was out of sheer passion at one point, huh, Lynn?
Hopefully, still, not just at one point. Yeah.
But first, before we get to that, I want to also say to Zoe, whatever you're doing out there, hopefully you're getting better. Hopefully, I know she had some gigs last week that was uh, really tough for her. Which, yeah, and I know she was singing a lot, so I'm sure. So just to let you know, we're sending you the love, and hopefully you get better quickly, or sooner than
So
later, I guess. Recovery is on the way, right? Okay. With that said, now, Lynn, let's talk about the legacy. Let's talk about the brand, art,
okay.
the creative industry that you have placed yourself into. You worked across across performance, visual arts, film, music, nonprofits, and the underground culture since the 80s. Yeah, since the
Well,
80s.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, before Green Galactic, which started in '93.
Mhm.
Right.
And to be honest with you, big respect to you because you've been able to, you know, um, you built intention, you built without no ego, you're someone that has integrity, you've helped others, you help others shine, and even today you are, you walk through a journey that's full. So we're going to get to that journey right now. My first one is like very interesting because I didn't know you were in Detroit. In Detroit at what was that from 1987 to 1989 was this?
Well, that's when I told you I was bartending at the City Club, a super cool kind of small nightclub in the Leland Hotel in downtown Detroit, like the Cass Corridor. And I bartended there, I think, from '97 to, I mean, '87 to '89. And then in '89, I moved west to California for San Francisco. So yeah, so
Yeah, yeah.
I
What I
had a
was,
day
I want.
job,
Mhm.
but I bartended at night to be close to the music that I loved, which was this very new Detroit techno music and scene. But the club, just like Detroit radio, which was really, really incredible, the club was everything from this early Detroit techno, early hip hop, to disco, to new wave punk, to alternative. Like, it was just the gamut of everything. But it was the techno that really spoke to me. And so a friend said, like, oh, you could totally bartend here. And I was like, I don't know how to bartend. He's like, oh, I'll show you. No big deal. And it kind of felt like no big deal. People want beer, or they want, you know, some liquor, and like it did seem relatively easy at the time. And there I was in the music that I loved, and the bar would stay open until like 4 in the morning, even though drinking stopped at 2. So after I was done serving drinks, then I could dance for a couple hours. I mean, it was, I have such happy memories of that, and met, you know, people that I still know to this day at, at the City Club.
That's cool because I wanted to ask you what was it about that moment in time, that scene that lit the fire in you?
I think, like anybody, something grasps your heart and soul. Like, you feel pulled or drawn to something. It excites you, and that's what music. I was always into music from the earliest I can remember. But I didn't have, growing up in I grew up as an only child in my household, and my parents, the radio wasn't on. I mean, music wasn't in the house, but somehow, I guess in school, I heard music. But radio, we had Electrifying Mojo was a disc jockey in Detroit, and yeah, I could go on and on about that. So anyway, and I was the kind of kid that didn't have a discernible talent. I was, I just was. It was so awesome when kids like knew, like, I'm a guitar player. I want to grow up and be a lawyer or a bus driver, whatever someone wanted. Like, I didn't have that in me. I was like, I have no idea. But I could dance. Like, when about junior high school, I realized I actually could dance way better than my peers, I think,
What was your favorite
in junior
dance
high
move?
school.
What was your favorite
But
dance move? Electric slide.
no, I didn't know that there were dance moves. Yeah, I just moved my body and danced. And in the early days, because I'm old enough, disco really captured my imagination. Just like the beats, the grooves. I loved dance music. I just love dance music. And so yeah, so I was going to dance clubs as soon as I could, and blah blah blah.
So that, I mean, back then there must have been some like really great stuff. You were what? That's the high. That's the peak time of the new music and how the scene, the underground scene was building, and
Yeah.
you were right in there, and it was easy for you, huh?
Yeah, I was right in there. It was, yeah, incredible. Like I seized the moment to explore it, and yeah, there was like an incredible punk club called Todd's. There was the City Club, and there was also, I can never remember if it was the Dance Institute or the Music Institute, but I we have to look that up. That's an incredible
There
club,
was, yeah, there was the Dance Institute for sure.
and I was able to go there a couple times. Yeah,
That later on you moved to San Francisco, 89
yeah,
to 91.
yep,
You made it to San Francisco. You landed at 1015 Folsom.
right.
What did that chapter show you about nightlife?
Do you know that club,
I
1015 Folsom?
I'm not sure, no, to be
Because I
honest.
think it's still there. I mean,
I'm gonna have
five
to
or so
check.
years ago, I think it was still there. It was a huge, huge, huge venue,
Mhm.
South of Market at Folsom, and I got a bartending job there early after moving to San Francisco. And to me, what I didn't say is that when in Detroit, when I was working at the City Club, my day job, I was lucky enough to do an internship at an ad agency, McCann Erickson, this huge global ad agency. They had a Detroit, every ad agency had a Detroit office because the automotive industry. Um, and I did an internship there. And then when I graduated from college, I worked there. So I worked there during the week. And on Friday night, I would work at the City Club. So I had this bartending skill. So I moved to San Francisco. I tried to find, a quote unquote real job, you know, at a television station or at another PR firm. My degree was in television production, and I couldn't find a real job, and I found a bartending job, and I found a waitressing job, um, and I loved being in the club scene again. I loved, but to me it was just like this tangential hobby just to be close to the music that I loved. It wasn't in my mind at all like steps towards a career in the music industry, or it was just nothing like that. It was just like, I like this, I will participate in this side hustle. That's all it was. But what was so incredible at 1015, I mean, just world class DJs. Doc Martin, when I first met Doc, who would later be in the record pool that I took over, um, Doc was a DJ there, and there
Oh
was
my God.
a club night every Friday. I can usually remember the name of that club night, but it was a gay promoter who just had this incredible weekly that I got to, bartend at, and then I moved up to be like one of the VIP, the VIP section. I was like the bartender, and it was incredible because the music was so insane and awesome and fun, and the creativity of his name was Gus. I cannot believe I remember that, but his creativity and his team, just like every different theme every Friday night, it was so incredible. And I don't know what I was gonna say, but same thing. I would get off work and I would get to dance to just this insane music. It was so awesome.
I mean,
So yeah, I'll stop there because I can just go on and on. So
that's, I think what's important that we walk through these steps and you are actually targeting in on those bullet points of what was really important for you that got you to this amazing place to start the Galactic House. Was it the Galactic
it
Pool?
was Greenhouse Record
Greenhouse
Pool.
Pool, and then on to Green Galactic. So people bear with us because I think I want Lynn to really dig down deep because it's very important. She affected me big time. Later on, you will understand why it's important that you kind of let her just express what it is. Because for me, you were such an inspiration, and I never knew what your record pool meant and Green Galactic meant to me until later when I kind of got out. And so now and you mentioned Doc Martin. He was major for me. also Marcus Wyatt and the Sunday after hour clubs, and all these, and some of the major downtown clubs that were happening, and you had a lot of great DJs coming to your record pool. So let me go back just a little bit. 1991, right? You were in LA working for Adam Wolf's as a jazz. That was also something I was dipping into when getting music from the pools. So, and then that was 1991, right?
So yeah, so you and I were trying to figure out this timeline. So I moved to LA in 91. I didn't get involved in the record pool until 93. So in that 2 year period, I met, and you met at whatever point, Adam Wolf, who's still a dear friend of ours. He lives here in Los Angeles. So when I moved to, I'll just tell you this part real quick. When I moved to LA, I got transferred down here from San Francisco. I just started working very, like, it was unbelievable. Like, so minimally, I was working with a post-production company in San Francisco
Mm.
through a temp agency. Like, a temp agency placed me at this post-production company. I was thrilled finally, after, like, 2 years in San Francisco. I guess it was a year and a half in San Francisco. I got in with a post-production company. I was so excited. And then after 2 weeks of being in this post-production company in San Francisco, they said, "How would you like to transfer down to LA, all expenses paid, to help open up our LA facility?" And I was like, yes. Like, I was so out of my mind thrilled, because I really was so into both film and music, and I loved the idea of Los Angeles, major city. And San Francisco was a struggle. It was my first, real city, moving away from home. And it was expensive. It was hard to find a job. It was hard to find parking. It was just, and San Francisco just felt kind of, I don't know, little. And just, anyway, so I was very excited to, get to LA. So I came down here. So I worked at this post production company for the whole 2 years. And that's how I met Adam, because Adam was an editor and still is an editor. And he walked into Fleet Street for a job, and him and I just struck up a conversation. We're both, chatty Cathys. And then he had, and that's how I met you. He had an acid jazz night at Telbo's on Pico in West LA, and I became his door girl. So the same thing. I'm pursuing like this day job in my career, but I have one foot in music because I love music so much. So my two jobs in music thus far in this story are as a bartender and as a door person. But that's how I met you, right?
Yeah, that's true. Let's talk about the PR. Who this PR agency? Who are you working for then? Shout
Oh,
out,
the post
plugs,
production
plugs.
company.
Yeah, you said I heard you say something about PR. So that was
No,
no
no. I worked in advertising before
advertising,
that, and then I worked at a post production company where
post production. Yeah,
they
that's what I meant.
edited
Sorry, post production.
commercials.
Yeah.
Yeah, so post production company. And they were very successful, and they had a lot of LA clients. And so my joke is that Taco Bell and Mattel and Levi's helped move me down to LA. Those are their major clients that I remember, was Taco Bell. And I remember observing that Taco Bell had just a new friggin' commercial every week, practically every month. So just a ton of money going on in Taco Bell with that post-production company. And Levi's and Mattel. Oh, and they did music videos too. They had a Buddy Guy music video, and there was a crazy South African director that used to. This is a tiny LA story that I'm sure I've told somebody before, but my first day at this new job in West LA, the music video director wanted to do his casting call at the post production. Like, you wouldn't do a casting call at a post production company, right? You're editing there after you've already shot it, you've already casted and shot it. And they were these gorgeous model women. And it was so LA. It wasn't the part of LA that I was caring about or embracing. It was unfortunately very, you know, blonde hair and huge boobs and just this whole stereotypical, like, California surf beat, which never appealed to me. I would have never dreamed I was going to move to California growing up. I was kind of always thinking about New York and like urban cities, Chicago. But anyway, the casting call was there. It was all these bevy of beauties mingling around in the kitchen and the offices. And I just remember how excited I was to be there and that I felt like I was pursuing my dream of, I don't know what yet, but blending music and film somehow. And they were pursuing their dreams. And they might have been different dreams, but we were all kind of doing it together. By the way, I have this favorite. I'm gonna walk back in my kitchen. This is so funny. And this is me just going on and tangenting, but I love this. I heard that this is a San Francisco artist actually, but this is what I think about us humans doing our things. It's probably going to be backwards, but all on different trips. I
Okay, it's hard to see. It's hard to see, Lynn, right now. Maybe you're just your camera a little bit. Something's happening there. It's blurring a little bit somehow. Are we
that's a
losing
bummer.
connection with? Are we losing
It looks
connection
very
with the internet there? Or no? It's your.
it
It's
looks
not
very
you.
clear to
It's
me.
not. It's not your.
Anyway, doesn't doesn't matter. I mean, can you see me okay?
No, I can see you, but there's a. Is that your? Can you see yourself pretty good? Because there's a blur.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, there's a
Oh
blur on the
no, I don't
YouTube a
know.
little bit.
I
Okay,
don't know why.
okay,
Sorry,
okay.
YouTube.
Continue then.
Anyway, all
Show
on
us
different
that again.
trips.
Show
So
us
I
that
got to
again.
LA. I was on my trip. They were on their trips, and
Ah, cool.
it was very
Oh, okay.
exciting. And I just felt the passion of, I guess, my young life and being in this new place, and all the possibilities were before us. That kind of thing. And that's the spirit of Los Angeles to me. Like I love Los Angeles, and I love that spirit of like you know head west, young person, and make your dreams, stake your claim, and make your dreams come true. I kind of love
How did
that
that
positive
How did
spirit.
that experience shape your view on community and connection?
Well, I feel like community connection is like the most important thing on the planet. I've always felt that way. And when I was working bartending in Detroit and then bartending in San Francisco, it was all about, you know, it's all about the friends that you make, the people that you meet, the friends that you make, the relationships that you nurture. It's all such an incredible, important component of being a human on the planet. So here I was in LA making new connections, meeting people like Adam, working with incredible people at that post-production company. And I was building my roots, I guess, in Los Angeles. And it felt pretty much like home immediately. An interesting thing, well, I don't know if it's that interesting, but the Detroit suburbs, like Detroit is a big metropolitan area, and Los Angeles is certainly a sprawling also metropolitan area. And both cities have a very specific industry that dominated that city and the world,
Hmm.
automotive in Detroit
Hmm.
and filmmaking in Los Angeles. It dominated the world for decades and decades and decades. Um, and the city grew up around, they're not vertical urban cities the way in New York or Boston or San Francisco or Chicago are. They're kind of spread out metropolitan areas. I kind of think of Atlanta. I haven't spent a lot of time in Atlanta, but these way spread out areas.
Hmm.
So it felt familiar to me, but with palm trees and better weather. So I embraced LA immediately.
Well, you seem to have been, yeah, like you said, you're a people person, and you seem to embrace um, a lot of and take on a lot of challenging situations, being Mr. Nice Guy all the time.
This is true. Yeah, we talked about something recently. Yeah.
Because I feel the same way. So I'm trying to connect the dots between where you are PR wise, why you started community, why you helping so many people shine, um, all of that ingredients that got to the record pool and got to Green Galactic. So make sure you keep those bullet points in there and drop some names that may have made it possible for that door to open for you to get to these steps that kind of inspired you to see something community wise and nonprofit wise. And that's why I was asking you what what did you learn about community at that time when you moved to LA? That was one of the reasons why I got to that, because soon we're gonna have to talk about what I think is super incredible is that you started your own business from all these different experiences, working as a bartender, working from the ground up, and then kind of seeing Green Galactic come to life in 1993. Can you tell us a little bit how that
Yeah,
community knowledge that you got kind of
I
was that a
can
driven was that a
definitely
was that yeah was that
definitely tell you that,
that was a
because
driving point?
it was it was because of community. So not, again, stop me wherever you can because I'm a babbler, but the the definite shift from all this to entering into 1993 and the rest of my life with the Greenhouse Record Pool and Green Galactic, was because in San Francisco, um, as I said, I was a bartender and I had a bar back. And a bar back, if people don't know, is just like the very helpful, infrastructure of humans helping the bartenders do their job. So, stocking the beers and helping, and, it's like, I guess it's like the bartender assistant, bar backs.
They're very important,
Very,
very, very
very
important.
important. And so there was this incredibly sweet barback named Malachi O'Brien. And Malachi, when I moved down in early 91 to LA, he, over the course of the next couple of years, became he was already a beloved human, but a beloved event producer, promoter. And he was doing a lot of full moon parties out in the desert. Is there desert up in Northern California? And even not, it's not even northern, it's like middle California, but we always call it Northern California, San Francisco Bay Area. And word came that so in 93, I mean in yeah, in early 93, I left the post-production company. Um I won't go into all those reasons, but it just felt like I wasn't pursuing, you know, my own hopes and dreams and aspirations. And so I struck it out on my own to do film stuff if I could, which I did a little bit of, dabbled a little bit. Um, and word came that Malachi had been in a horrific car accident. So everybody in the San Francisco dance music community, and certainly some of us down here in LA, and whoever around the world that knew him, he was such a sweet, and he is such a sweet person, I'm sure to this day. He was in a horrible car accident and he became a quadriplegic. The van that they were
Oh,
driving after an event, I don't know if the guy fell asleep at the wheel. They went over,
wow.
and Malachi was in the back with the equipment, and his spine got crushed, and it hit me, and it hit so many people. So you're just out of your mind. You can't believe this has happened. You can't believe how bad you feel that the person has gone through this, and it was monumentally impactful, obviously, in my life, that I thought, well, I want to try to put together. You're like, what can I do? How can I help? And so what came to mind is maybe I can put together an event, a fundraiser down here in LA for him up in San Francisco. But it was bizarre that my mind thought that, because I didn't know how to produce events. I was involved in events. I wasn't producing events or creating events or putting on events. I was just loving events and involved in events. So I placed a few phone calls, and within, 2 or 3 phone calls, I end up calling, you know, this record pool in the Taft building at Hollywood and Vine. And that would become my phone number and my address for the next
What
13
record
years
pool
of my
at
life.
Hollywood and Vine? Do you remember what record pool it was?
Of course, 'cause it was Spectrum, and it
Spectrum.
was, yeah, and it was Mark Lewis and Michael Michael McDavid. Is That's
Yep,
bizarre.
yep. Big ups,
And a
big out, big
third
shout out to
person,
Mark. Good, big shout out to Mark Lewis.
yeah. And there was a third person too. I think that maybe was a partner that was gone by the time I placed this phone call. Oh, I called, and Miguel Placentia answered. I can't believe I remember Miguel's name. Shout out. Um, and I was like, "Oh, what's a record pool?" And he's like, "Oh, come on down, and I'll, tell you all about it." And I was like, "Okay." And in thinking about talking with you today, and you've been asking me some of these questions already, I know this is a term from the world of improv, but from the world of improv, there's that yes and, or maybe it's just in the world of acting. I don't know, but it's yes and I feel like that's how I, came out of the womb was yes and.
Hmm.
So, and so I can be maybe overly trusting. So he was like, yeah, come over to our office and I'll tell you all about whatever he said. I was like, I'm game. Let me drive my butt over there and figure out what a record pool is. And a record pool, for those who don't know, it was a service that came about in the 70s during disco as a way for the record labels to send advance copies and promo copies and sometimes white labels and test pressings to a record pool director who had DJs as members. So the DJ, just like the boxes behind you, there were
Yeah,
all
baby.
these 12 by 12 kind of boxes, and then the record director, which I would become, would slot the records in the different, for the different DJs, and the DJs would pay dues every month and they'd come by and they'd get their records. um, and so that's, I learned in that afternoon what a record pool was. And I was helping my girlfriend Trisha, still such a dear friend of mine, I just saw her a couple of days ago.
Shout out to
She had a
Trisha.
flower, shout out Trisha, she had a flower business for years and years and years. Bodacious baskets and flowers, she did flowers, she did gift baskets, really amazing company. And um, I mentioned to Michael that I was working with my friend who's a florist, and Michael said, "Oh, I love flowers. If you ever have extra flowers, I'd love some." It's just like these innocent
Community building.
conversations. And yeah, community buildings is happening without you knowing it.
Thank you
And
for
I
sharing.
called
Thank you
him.
for sharing this. Really, thank you for sharing this because it was mind-boggling for me to say when I saw your face and I saw Green Galactic and you have the same your colors, the vibe, the energy, and now step by step you are explaining why and how
I don't know if anyone
it
else
makes
will
sense.
A, tune in, B, find this interesting, but I'm glad that you and I are are
Well, I
sharing
tell
this
you one
today.
thing,
Thanks for asking.
they have to because this is more than just what we can you can downplay it all you want, but you were very effective and you were very a lot of people trusted you and you built trust from the things that you're teaching us now. So with that said, we
Oh,
can't
good.
you know what I'm saying, we can't downplay it, we just have to live through it. And for me, look at me, I'm just going like, oh, now I get it, because I was DJing at the Hollywood Palace, at the Mayan, at and with so for me to understand now what this meant to us DJs back then, of course it's important. And it's relevant to today, but it's a different type of pooling, you know, but it's still how we did it from the ground up, you know. So yes, continue with those bullet points because they're very important. That record pool was with who was the who headed it again?
So it was Michael and Mark,
Okay, good.
and Miguel was working there, and was probably a DJ in the pool. And anyway, so the whole reason that I called them is because I wanted to figure out, you know, who the main promoters and DJs were in Los Angeles. So I knew that type of thing when I was in Detroit. I knew that type of thing when I was in San Francisco. But since I've been in LA, I've been working at this post-production company just nonstop. I mean, I barely had time to work the door for Adam once a week. I was just immersed. I worked my way up to be the business manager of this post-production company. So I never did editing myself, although I loved editing in college. Anyway, so I wanted to try to put on an event. So unfortunately, I did not put on the event, but a few months later, actual real promoters in town put on a fundraiser for Malachi that I helped work at. But s- that version of my story, like that got me to the record pool. And so a couple months later, I call up Michael and I say, "Hey, I helped Trisha with a big wedding. I've got extra flowers. Would you like them?" And he said, "Oh my gosh, I've been looking for your number. Please come over." And it was just crazy as things happen. And he said, I feel like I have a philosophical thing to say about this, but I'll probably screw it up. So I'll just say that he said, at some point that day or the next day, he said, how would you like to be partners with me in this record pool? Like he saw that I had skills and things. Like I had, if it was 93, if there were laptops in 93, I had an early laptop. Anyway, he could tell that I was more kind of like anal retentive organized. I wasn't an artist, I wasn't a DJ, I was no competition to like any of that, if that could have been. I was just like kind of an organized businessy person, maybe, which is funny to imagine that he would have thought that. So yes, I want to be partners 50-50 in this record pool. And I had a dilemma. Oh, the dilemma came later. Anyway, so I was like, yes. So there's the yes and, right? Like the good or the bad thing about the way my brain works is I'm not, unfortunately, a real planner. I'm not a real goal maker. I'm just a, I like life. I like people. Let me go along on this journey, which is obviously that's a good thing. But there's pros and cons to all these kind of versions of how a human could function. So I took it really seriously. He opened this door, and I full on with 100% of my being um, launched into it. And what was great, and I didn't know it, is I had already been having this kind of hands-on education with the dance music world. So when I started working at the record pool, it was very familiar. Like I knew who so many of the record labels were. I knew who so many of the artists were and the producers were. I- Like I knew that world, not knowing I knew that world. So it felt like a very comfortable place, and I got to do my businessy stuff, which is what I was going to originally take in college. Was I was going to be a business major, and it was great until it wasn't great. And then like a tiny, so the DJs paid dues every month, like $75, and there were only 15 DJs. So there's not a ton of money to like pay rent and the electrical bill and us. Like we weren't making money. Oh, and I was not living anywhere. I was house sitting. I had moved out of my place. Why did I think I could move out of my place? I don't know, but
She said, "What?" She said, "What if they can run a place?"
I quit my job. I was going to go all
Dedication.
into this like kind of Hollywood dream of mine. And I started house sitting. I guess I started house sitting just to reduce costs and expenses. So I wouldn't have rent. I wouldn't have, phone bill. Like, I don't know. It sounds like a crazy person, but anyway.
No, the things
And
we
I
do for
couch,
passion. The
right.
things
And
we
I
do,
couch surfed. Yeah. My parents were like, what is she doing? Um,
the
and
things we do
so,
for love.
sometimes I would sleep at the record pool, but I was just all in. I was just all in. And then I found out that some little bit of money was going to come into the record pool. It wasn't being split with me. I found out that he had told people that I was his secretary. Just, just it was bad. We got into a fight. He physically shoved me towards the window on the 11th floor. I mean, I'm just saying that for dramatic. I mean, that did happen, but it was pretty dramatic. He changed the lock so I couldn't get in to our office and the
So
record
he
pool. He
feared.
told all
So
the
he feared
DJs,
you.
I guess he told all the DJs that the record pool was closed. I was like, oh no, you're not. Uh, I have just worked so hard for no money for over half a year. This
Mm,
is this is my company too.
right.
So
Good for you.
anyway, he was really happy to go to New York. He was gonna have a record label. And I was really happy to continue at the record pool, but that's where I had to make this kind of crossroads decision because I also had just gotten hired to be the, what, like the pre-production coordinator, something. And during the day, I remember calling up
Pre-production for
for a film, for a
for a film.
very, for really, really, really low budget, small little film. And I remember I was in the office at Hollywood and Vine, and I was calling like film stock companies trying to get prices on film. And at night, I was like faxing record pool feedback sheets to Warp Records, which is drop a name. I was thrilled. Like it was the only record
Warp,
pool in America
actually
that was
Warp,
getting
right?
records from Warp Records because it was such a small pool and we had like the best DJs in
Yeah,
LA in the record pool.
Warp is
So that,
iconic.
yeah, it was and it still is iconic. Exactly.
I
So I
mean,
had to make a decision. It was like Thanksgiving. I went back to Michigan to see my folks, and it was this huge, huge, huge decision. fork in the road decision in my mind
Mm.
of stick with this record pool that I've helped to build further and I love, or do this thing that I thought I wanted to do with my life, which is work in film. Oh my God. So I came back from that trip not making a decision. I don't know if that's a Capricorn thing or not. And I was like, I'm going to do both. But then there I was, like, daytime trying to do the film thing, nighttime. And I was just exhausted and burnt out. And it was crazy. And then by January, I decided to stick with the record pool, and I changed the name to Greenhouse Record Pool, where your business grow, where your music grows. That was it. Where your music grows. And
Where your music grows green.
so I could pause there, but or I
What's
could
amazing?
really move quickly through the rest and we'll be done.
What's amazing? What's amazing, and that I really appreciate you narrating that timeline is because that is the perfect example of not giving up. And
Right.
integrity and adversity. I mean, you had to push in LA. You can't just lay over. You just can't lay over and roll
Yeah,
over
that's
and it,
that's true. But I would love to interject. I realized that I was and I am in such a privileged position
okay.
that, you know what I
Glad
mean?
you
I wasn't
can
trying to
address that.
support a family. I, w- I was a white woman in
Okay.
America in the 90s. You know what I mean? I
Respect.
mean,
Respect.
I had a lot of, I mean, yeah, it seemed like a hard road ish. But there was a lot I could take advantage of, you know, mainly I didn't need a lot of money and I somehow could hustle and make that work. You know what I mean?
Uh,
Like people have
Thank you for the
so
honesty.
many
Really.
more adverse circumstances. Like you would hear a story like that and you'd be like, yeah, but there's these other horrific realities that wouldn't allow you to just like
Okay.
follow my heart, follow
Okay.
my dreams.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I was able to follow what my inner voice was telling me. And so that's yeah, so that worked for me.
Good
It
point.
helped. It
I love that. Good. I mean, very good point because I remember periods when was I got to a certain level as a DJ, but then it was getting tougher and tougher to the opportunities were less. Um, I was wondering while I'm working my ass off trying to be the best I can be, and I just can't keep these gigs coming in because of somebody else getting a gig there. It's a group of community that's starting something, and everybody's going there and leaving me empty over here, you know. And I'm trying to fit in with the Doc Martens and the what was it? What was this club he was doing on Santa Monica Boulevard? The It was
I'm sure I know.
uh, Doc Martin always had his little thing, and then also
I remember Magic Wednesdays. I don't
right,
think that's what
and
it was. I don't know if you were thinking of
yeah,
that, but
and I couldn't break through, and so I took little gigs, you know, at other places, and I finally locked in on something at the Mayan, and at the Palace, and so yeah, for me, I was really trying to like you. That's so I really understand that, you know, keeping yourself, giving yourself the push, not being pushed down. If you see a door open, you're going right in and taking advantage of that and not giving up. And that's part of the reason why we can discuss this today. And that's kind of stuff that I can really say, yes, that did happen. And I was there when it happened, this kind of thing. So that's really awesome. Now that the pool greenhouse turned into Green Galactic. Shortly,
right.
right? Short. Okay, wait. Let me ask you this first before we move past that. How was your original vision for that? Was it? Did you explain that already? Your original vision for Greenhouse?
No, because I remember I said I don't really have goals and plans and visions. I have a like I feel like if I had to try to say this out loud, I feel like I have a barometer inside of me of I mean it sounds really selfish and it is of like I like to I li- I'm very lucky that I'm wired happily. Like I'm a happily, like I feel like the luckiest person on the planet
Good.
that I I just have I'm just wired that way, that I'm a happy person. And so if things are not happy, it feels off kilter. It feels like I'll try to examine it, like why am I feeling this way? Why is this happening? And try to like my little boat out in the sea, like try to right it and shift it back to, like I want to be happy every day if that's possible. And this is just sounding ridiculous to me outside my ears, but anyway, so I just was doing like one step in front of the other each day. What made me like it really made me happy to be a part of that community, this artist driven music based community that just I was just the hugest fan of. So that was incredible to just be a part, like be a little cog in that wheel. And that was so fulfilling and so satisfying that I just stuck with it. And it also feels very good to be productive. When everybody that knows me knows I talk about my ADHD. So I found out I had ADHD in 2018, and I found out a lot of things about people in that tribe, if you will. And one of the things is productivity. Like I'm a nut for feeling productive. I mean, that feels different to everybody,
Hmm.
but just running my little business, running that
Mm-hmm.
record pool, being part of the music and being productive daily. Like I'm sending feedback sheets and I'm uh Jason Bentley, a lot of these DJs have been in the pool when I stepped into it and then they remain, but Jason Bentley, um I don't know if he's already doing it, but he had a DJ chart that was published in Herb magazine, and Raymond Roker and Todd Roberts, they were like a floor below me, I think, in the Taft building. Right.
Wait a minute. 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 Wait for a second here, Lynn. Name those names again.
So Raymond Roker, the
Raymond
founder of
Roker, right?
Herb magazine, and then
Herb,
Todd Roberts,
Todd.
who was there the whole time that I was aware of it.
What
Tamara
was
Palmer,
Herb
that's right.
magazine to you? What Herb magazine to me back then was big time, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was the magazine
The
for they actually straddled electronic music and hip hop. But it was electronic music that I was passionate about. And I mean, they were, as they say, the shit. Like they were the publication. They came out maybe monthly and they interviewed DJs and artists and promoters and yeah, graphic designers and clothing makers. And it was big. It was a big format, um, kind of semi-glossy paper. It was the coolest. And they were in the Taft building too. The Taft building was amazing. I could go on and on about the Taft building because there were so many creatives there from other industries too, but a lot of dance music people were in the Taft building.
what I enjoy
Like
about
when
that
you
list
visited,
of names is that they're coming back to me now
yeah,
about who they were, how relevant they were to our community back then, what they did, and
yeah,
the work they did for the community to try to keep this thing pumping. And for you to name those names and for me to recognize and realize I know those people. They were inspirations to me, you know. Um, who were the other names again?
well, new names are the same names.
Same names, because
So Raymond Roker,
Raymond Roker,
Todd
Todd,
Roberts, Tamara Palmer was
Tamara,
there, Michelle Lolly
Michelle Lolly,
was there. I'm so surprised I'm remembering all these names, but
because we're
it was a
going back.
huge part of my world.
They
I
were
respected what they were
important.
doing. They were just like right there, they became friends. Um, oh, and Jason. So Jason Bentley was doing
Jason Bentley.
a record, like a top 30 record chart that was published in Herb magazine.
Yep.
And he would take I would collate the top 30 records from the record pool. And then he would, however that worked, he would put it together and it would be published in Herb magazine. I can't remember why I was talking about that. You asked something else. I can't remember,
For those
but
of you that don't know Herb Magazine, please go Google it. Go Google it because it's like the R and A right now. It's like resident advisory back then for us.
yeah, kind of, yeah, yeah. That's not a bad. analogy, but it
right?
felt so much more. It was way more like, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good analogy. I won't go on.
Did you?
But
Go ahead.
moving us on, I'll talk about the club stuff. So 93, the record pool began for me, and in 94, um, I became a fan of Public Space, a live after hours ambient club happening on Hollywood Boulevard, just a couple blocks away from where my office was with Green Galactic.
Public space.
And once again, I became the door girl at their night.
You had a
And
reputation.
I know. I mean, it's just like, let me work in this thing that I love any way that I can. Um, and then different things would happen with the two guys, Marco and Don, who started that. Um, and within a year or so, they would exit and I would continue that. And that's in 94 is where I met a young John Tejada. We won't go into that story because I can talk about John all day long. Um, and for a little while, I mean, John and I actually worked together, kind of promoting and publicizing. Like before we started dating, we were both working together, um, bringing artists and promoting artists for Public Space.
Hmm.
And that's the first place he ever played live, and I missed it. I was in a car accident, and I didn't get to see his first live performance.
So you met
And
John. You
then,
met John at the club.
yeah,
Okay. You
and
met a lot of.
it was an ambient club, and it was live, so that was the main point of it. It was like artists doing a live performance, which in 94, like think about it, they would have to like haul around like their hardware boxes and patch bays. And I mean, it was a huge endeavor for an electronic music artist to set up and perform. And then there might be three people there, or 30 people would be like, wow, 30 people came out to this experimental underground electronic music thing. And then within a couple more years, I got my first PR client from someone that performed at the club, Subdub, a duo out in New York. And they had a record coming out on Instinct Records, and Instinct Records said, "Oh, who do you want to do your publicity?" And they said, "Oh, Lynn in Los Angeles." And it was it was a yes, and like I had never done actual publicity. I'd done publicity actually to help promote the night, Public Space nights in Hollywood. I was already in touch with KCRW and the LA Times and the LA Weekly. I was trying to promote the club,
Yep.
so I was naturally kind of doing the work of a publicist.
I mean, you were
Very.
there at many of the doors, so quite naturally, you knew the incoming, right? You
You
knew,
mean the artists?
yeah, just people. I mean, you working the door and being who you are.
Oh, just like the attendees and everybody.
Yeah, being who you are. I mean,
Hmm.
bar, door, these are all ground floor jobs all the way up into. So quite
I'm
naturally,
on the ground, like meeting like other fans. I'm
yeah,
meeting other fans like me, like
yeah.
that are drawn to this same thing, the same artistic output. So then I started doing publicity, and huge shout outs to Susan at the time, Susan Mainzer, who would marry John Von Segern. So now she's Susan Von Segern, and Brian Bumbury, rock star publicist here in LA. They were both kind enough to share portions of their databases with me. And this is like 95, 96. And then within a year or so, Susan would become
Oh, that's
business
nice.
partners with me. And we kept the name Green Galactic. And then I could rush from that to the present to just say, and we don't have to rush, whatever you want to do. But different clients besides electronic music clients would come into Green Galactic's sphere or orbit very quickly. I had like ResFest, um, Jonathan Wells and his partners, I can't remember their names now. They had the first like digital film festival, and it was so super cool. They would premiere, Chris Cunningham videos, and it was very music and film oriented, their film festival, very experimental. Oh, it was so cool. So I'm doing press for film festivals and restaurants. There was Lumpy Gravy, which was like an ode to Frank Zappa on Beverly Boulevard across from El Coyote. And it was Gabor Chupo from Klasky Chupo, the
El
animation company.
Coyote. Yeah.
Yeah, El Coyote. That's probably where I met. Oh no, that's a different circle of friends I met. But same time I met Adam Wolf, I met
Right.
Chris. Well, I knew Chris Gore from Michigan, but I met a bunch of Chris Gore's friends at El Coyote the first week I moved to LA. And those are kind of two early friend zones. Um,
You
anyway,
you kept doing the events what for about 10 years, or?
yeah, like a really solid 10 years, like 94 to 2004. I would still do events, when I'm celebrating a big milestone for Green Galactic, like the 10 year and the 20 year and the 25 year and 30 year. I'll produce events. I love producing events. It's kind of a happy spot for me. But the bulk of really mostly electronic, many of them live, lots of DJ events, some drum and bass events. Um, but yeah, all electronic music events.
What event would you say, or what two events actually put you in? Everybody was yelling out Lynn Tejada's name at what event on the guest list? Can you put on the guest list? We want to be booked there. We want to play there.
Um, well, this is maybe sort of answer my favorite, the biggest deal event ever was when John and I brought Autechre to LA in 95, 96. And we rented the Roxy, not the Roxy, the Troubadour. I also
Troubadour
did events at the Roxy, but the Troubadour, which was traditionally more of not electronic dance music, that's for sure, or experimental electronic music at all. And we did the Troubadour, which holds, I
legends.
don't know how many that holds, three to five
Troubadours
hundred
had
people.
legends there.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a legendary venue, and that was like one of the greatest nights of my life. Just having these artists from the UK who we respected so much, we love their music so much, and to be able to be the LA promoters for their first time, their first performance in LA, um, it felt like I just was on top of the world. It just was amazing to present them. And it was amazing that it sold out because we just had no idea how many other people in LA would be into Autechre. We had no idea. And it's a good thing it sold out because we would have been on the line to owe a lot of money that we didn't have to the Troubadour. And it was a torrential downpour, which, most of the year in LA, it's not a rainy season. That night was crazy, and there were people out front scalping tickets. I mean, it was just like our wildest dreams come true, how well that went. So that
And
kind of is like the
can you
top
name
of.
some of those? Can you name some of those UK artists that you booked?
So, yes, Autechre, Plaid, we absolutely love and have become good friends with Ed and Andy, um, and Bennett from Plaid. I mean, God, so many. The Chain Reaction guys
Oh, Chain Reaction.
from
Boy, Chain
your
Reaction
German
from Berlin.
country.
Oh
Yeah,
boy.
the
Oh, Lynn,
Chain
you was in
Reaction.
there.
Yeah, a lot of the Detroit guys, Shake and DJ Rolando
Oh,
and the
you had
430 West
Shake. You had
guys.
Shake come out. Shake is truly one of my heroes, really. And I didn't know it.
No way.
I didn't know it until I left LA that Shake was so important to me. Wow.
Wow. So it just goes on. There's actually a page on my Green Galactic website. If you go to greengalactic.com and you go to the about section, there's a link there to past Green Galactic event
Hmm.
of produced events. And you can see this whole list of DJs and artists and performers there.
Okay.com.
I should I should pull that up myself.
Yeah,
But anyway,
pull it up
oh
real
my,
quick.
so we've been talking for an hour.
So
I don't know if this is a boring conversation to anyone else. It's not to me. I'm having a
no, it's not.
blast.
It's wonderful, Lynn. Don't worry about it. It's Decisive podcast
Okay.
series, and we're gonna get it done. Let's do it because I'm really excited about this episode, and it captures part of what I've been trying to, you know, reach back into my history and what why I got into actually the DJing and electronic and how I went from hip hop, R&B to house to techno to drum and bass to to all these different levels, and a lot of that was from the building and structured opportunities we had in LA. uh Mama Don't You Know was a Sunday After
Oh yeah.
Hours. um, we had, what was it? It was another one, Sketchpad. What's the other
Oh
one,
yeah.
Taylor? Yeah, so it's taking me back to where I remember leaving Mayan and going to was it called? Mac's Garage, I think it was from Marcus Wyatt and the guys. So for me to hear you reiterate what I was actually trying to remind myself, thank you for that, reminding myself, you know, and for you to tell the story, it's just kind of surreal. It's
You're
kind of
right. It's
surreal,
it's fun. It's like walking down memory lane and like
right?
memories you had or didn't know you had or
Right.
yeah.
Let's talk about any moment. Yeah, okay. We talked about any moments that shaped you or helped you grow to even open the doors from Green Galactic at that point.
Well, that the answer that is coming to mind is for so much of the history of my company over the last, three 32 years,
32
so
years,
many of
people. So this ain't no joke. Yeah.
so many of the early, so I'm a younger human in the early days with even obviously way, way, way more energy. And I feel like the diversification of our client range, leaving electronic music, getting more into music, getting, into film, into restaurants, into visual art, into theater was me being either a combination of naive, um, slightly brave, slightly naive, slightly crazy to do the yes and thing. Like, oh, my friend recommended you, Lynn, but I've got this thing. They might not know I've never done this. Like, I've got a play and I need publicized. So I would often say yes, even if it wasn't yet in my wheelhouse of things that I had promoted already, because obviously there's a lot of similarities. You're writing a press release, you're reaching out to press people, you can do research and find new press people that you need to reach out to. So the growth of Green Galactic was me being kind of naive or crazy or brave and saying like I could do that too. So and I'm not giving enough credence to when Susan joined me in 1997. Um, Susan Mainzer at the time was this. I looked up to her. I thought she was such a rock star music publicist. She was a little bit younger than me. She had this incredible history of working at Island Records, and she came from she came from upstate New York, then worked at PR New York for a hot minute, then came out west and represented like she was like the West Coast rep for them. So when she joined me in 97, she brought her own incredible energy and work ethic. And it was like Green Galactic on steroids. I mean, between the two of us, we knew different communities, different people. There was some Venn diagram, you know, overlay, but she was in with kind of like early VR people and more authors and book publisher people. Besides music, I mean, she was massive into music. So it was crazy on steroids time for Green Galactic and clients and growth. And then it turned out being a really dumb thing, but we opened a second office in New York in 2000. And the reason that it felt dumb in hindsight is because we didn't take the time to, and not even her, she must have gotten lulled with my spontaneity of like, sure, why not?
Okay.
Because I thought she was a really great business person who planned and strategized, but honestly, we didn't when we opened the second office. We were kind of riding this wave with the first dot com bubble right before it burst. And we had some giant clients that were based in New York or overseas that were going to hire us. That were going to open this New York office, yada, yada, yada. And like 10 days later, I think it was, we opened our offices on April 1st, coincidentally in 2000, I think it was. And the dot com stock market crash happened. And it was devastating to our little operation. I mean, I would have no idea it'd be devastating, but
Mhm.
it was horribly we had just like hired three full-time employees at money we weren't even, you know, paying ourselves by any means, brand new laptop. We were just like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to open a New York office and we're going to do all this great stuff. And then that crash happened and it really, really, really affected those big clients went away. Those big clients didn't get the money. They thought they were getting one early client though, which is just fun to me being such a film fan that I am, is
Who are they?
the
Who these
Tribeca
clients?
Film Festival. The
Mm.
very, very, very first year of the Tribeca Film Festival, they hired Green Galactic to do publicity with our New York people really running that. And then
Was
the
that big
next
for
year,
you?
9/11 happened.
Was
What's that?
was that exciting for you when you had that opportunity when it came? Were you like
It
really
was exciting, but it was so much and too much. It was kind of hard to enjoy and hard to comprehend that we're trying to run this office in LA, which was very difficult as we grew and got busier. Like it was exciting. It was an exciting time, but a daunting. I didn't have time to eat or think, or it was too much for my brain to enjoy it really. But it was exciting. Susan went to New York more than I did to kind of run things. One of the people that we hired out there was Peter Wahelski. Do you know Peter?
I never met him.
Do you know that name though? He worked. He originally him and I met. He was a DJ in Florida, and he had a zine. He had a zine. Was that called like Flip or something? It was like one word, zine. And he interviewed me a billion trillion years ago. I don't know how we knew each other, but the record pool and the DJing and everything. And then he ended up moving to New York and he worked at Astroworks,
Ah, I know
and was like
Astro.
the A&R guy at Astroworks and signed incredible artists. And then he worked at Green Galactic for a few years, and eventually he moved to Denver, I think. Anyway, Colorado, and he worked at Beatport for years and years. Anyway, I love
Okay.
Peter Wahelski. Shout out to Peter if you ever watch this. And I was going to say something else. New York office. Oh, 9/11 happened. So a year as we're kind of limping along for this year, trying to like sustain ourselves with two offices. And then 9/11 happened, and that was also wildly devastating because so many of our clients were touring DJs and musicians and record labels that hired us to do PR
True.
for
True.
tours.
Dead.
All tours,
Yep.
it was again weirdly, I just wouldn't have thought little old Green Galactic would be so crippled by a dot-com crash and then a horrific 9/11 thing going on. So then there's a whole story there, but Susan and I decided to part ways, and she was just like, oh my God, I'm not used to having these bills and not having money and having this chaos. She's like, I mean, we were, as adult as we could be to get off that roller coaster. And I was psyched to have it back to my own, sole proprietor business again, because my little tenacious Capricorn, I don't know what, climbing up that mountain, I wanted to do it the way I wanted to do it, whatever that looked like. So we were both happy with the parting of the ways. We had a ton of debt. I haven't done a shout out to all the amazing people. The really core team that worked at Green Galactic during that time was Roy Ceballos, and Roy, who I love to death, worked with me. He was a DJ. He is a DJ at Greenhouse Record Pool before Susan joined me. Roy was with me for years. Roy is a Swedish creature, and then Susan joined, and then Charles. I love you, Charles. Charles is still here in LA, as is Roy, as is Lene. Anyway, Charles was early days Green Galactic after Susan joined me. And Lene, who I just love all these humans so much, and we're all in each other's lives still, which makes me so happy. Lene, I didn't know her. Susan brought her in, and she ran our hip hop division, which was amazing, incredible. Susan had a lot of hip hop background too, PR background, and love for that music. So we kind of expanded that way. Anyway, this is so memory lane for me, and I somehow want to apologize for going off any tangents or rails, but those are some of the core
No, we
people.
did. We discussed it. That how I'm so glad that you were able to mention because it took trust,
Took a
community.
village.
Right, right.
It takes
It,
a village.
and building trust, you know, we have to ask from, with all that support, with all that privilege, with all that dedication, that love for people, love for community, um, I suppose you wouldn't give that up for the world, right?
Mm-mm, definitely not. I mean, yeah, I can't imagine. Before we wrap up, can I please say a shout out to a couple more really
We're not wrapping up yet. We got about
insanely,
another 10 minutes because I have a few. There's a punchline to this whole conversation. So,
well, okay,
yo,
okay,
yeah, there's really a punchline. And
okay.
I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm just going to have to, edit, bring it back on. People that missed it, you can come back and check it out. Please do. Matter of fact, make sure you subscribe and support us. And if you have missed half of the presentation, the show, you can now subscribe on our YouTube. Give a shout out to Lynn. I've already posted her website, Green Galactic, so you can go through the history that we know and understand and love. And I'm so happy that I'm able to relive this with you. And I know it's documented as a content that we can also look back and remind us. I forget. You said you got dyslexia. I forget, and some moments was by choice forgotten, and
Mm.
then relived again in the moment of now doing the Decisive podcast. So I'm not owning the fact that we're in a new place, a new time, and things have to be done differently. But I think for me to have this conversation in real time, documented publicly between ourselves, I think at some point in time, people can actually get back. If people that know us and love us and care about us will go back and and see really how authentic this really is and how joyful I am that to have you on it. So for me, it's really important. So yeah, don't worry about that. I want you to also continue on giving those shout outs because that's kind of kept you strong and kept you motivated. And that's really okay. This is what I'm hoping this episode is teaching.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, that I can kind of look back and think of different chunks of the journey. Um, and this is funny. Morgan. I mean, I don't expect all these people to sit through and watch all this, but and sometimes I'm giving last names, sometimes and not other times. But anyway, Morgan joined me for a brief period, um, and we had some monumental clients at that time, and I just everyone who's ever come and worked with me and been a part of this is so meaningful to me, obviously, because I have loved this journey and I've loved all the different clients I've gotten to work with and community I've gotten to work with and know and love. So all the people that have worked at Green Galactic have been monumentally important and meaningful to me. So Morgan was with me for a little while, and then Charlene came along, and Charlene and I've talked about Charlene so much with friends and anyone, and she's an incredible left brain, brain person, like so insanely intelligent and so insanely creative, and she was just an amazing foundationally important person in Green Galactic. And I think she worked, I think it was about a 7 year stint, like maybe, or 6 or 7 years, like 2009 to 15 or 8 to 15 or 16. Yeah, Charlene, so amazing, amazing human being. Thank you. And currently, I'm working with Cez and Charlie, and we're a little dynamic duo together, and they're so helpful and they're so sweet and they're and it's like we go to work every day together in our separate places, but we're all here in Los Angeles. And so yeah, it's a very happy place for me to think about all the people that have helped Green Galactic further itself along the way.
Tell us where you are um, with the business and partners as we stand in 2025 and how difficult it must be knowing that we're going through a lot of changes, including shifting to AI and also um, our the new president that is challenging every company worldwide and causing us to think a certain way when it comes to uh, creativity, public opinion, and also marketing strategies and social media and all these different things. How are you navigating or gravitating through all this these different levels, and it, are you willing to do what it takes to kind of bring yourself? I'm learning a lot, so I'm excited about starting again in a new and working and learning. I'm learning so much about doing my own show and my doing the Decisive that first, even if people don't show up, I'm going to practice on being the best me and keep the love in at all times. So that's just who I am, like you, and that's just what I'm going to always be because I was raised by my mom and that's what I was taught. And for me, I love this. It keeps me also protected from the woes and the
Hmm.
negativities and the what if this and what if not that and all that mess. And those that are with you are with you. The ones that are not, they just not. And but that doesn't mean you have to stop. Creativity
Right.
comes in many different forms and at one point I believe I have to believe that something will work out.
Right. I yeah, I'm kind of programmed to believe that things will work out, but they're not working out right now for so many of our fellow humans. And yeah, I mean, it's a huge, 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 huge topic. And I mean, there's one way to answer that or talk about that right now is that um I go back to this ADHD diagnosis in 2018, but you were asking me about the New York office, and it was hard for me to, and I imagine it would also be hard. I'm not a parent. It would be hard, like, you know, families have all the shit on their table that they've got to deal with, like raising kids and getting them to school and having enough money,
By
and maybe
choice,
you're in a
mind you.
horrible relationship. Like, there's so many things that derail humans, but I was very derailed from paying attention to what was really going on in the world. I'm sure I'm not even, doing that right now, knowing all the horrors going on in the world is what I want to say. But when the pandemic hit, my joke is I discovered YouTube, and I finally, for the first time in my life, had time to just kind of like look and learn more about. Like, I just never had time to look at anything else except for like trying somehow to get my brain to work to run my business. Like, it just felt daunting every day luckily I enjoy what I do, so I didn't beat myself up too much that I had trouble doing anything else than trying to get a press release out and trying to write a couple sentences and trying to do research. And even though people have helped so much and worked at Green Galactic along the way, um, I always want to use the word struggle. It's a struggle for me to get through my day of just like normal activity. So in beginning of the pandemic, started being able to really watch YouTube and learn more about what was going on in the world, learn more about the horrors that our country perpetrates around the world. Um, and so even if I'm learning about horrific, egregious things, I'd rather know and be able to try to take action in whatever form it is than not know. Like, I feel, like the whole voting thing, like voting is a right, it's a privilege.
Mhm.
Like, whatever things we can do, it, at least I think that I and we should do whatever it is to help make a better world than to ignore it and to just like bury our head in the sand. And I understand if people have much more difficult, obviously more difficult lives than I do, and they don't have the time and the bandwidth to really understand all the horrors that are happening in the world. But just by knowing about them helps us, I think, to be able to be more empathetic, hopefully, and more persuasive when we are talking to someone who's doesn't know that this horrific thing is going on, we could maybe enlighten them. Like I like to be informed. I'm that's such a mundane thing to say, but it's more important to me than not. And you talked about I'm just kind of you brought up huge things, and I'm not doing a great job at trying to address them. But
No,
AI, I
you
know
do.
that's one
You're
thing.
doing you're doing a great job. The only reason why I'm here asking because of the business that you are in and how you were doing it back then, how it came forward tenfold after 30 years, and how you're going to get what are you thinking for the future for yourself considering AI and simply,
Um,
or have you
I think
given
like
any thought?
I think like so many things, there's pros and cons. There's good and bad. I go, the internet itself, amazing things, horrific things. Social media, great things, horrific things. AI, great things, horrific things. I think it's going to be the mixed bag as all these other things are, technologies are. Um, when when I was first kind of talking about hearing about AI 2 years ago, I mean, I heard about it before then, but you know what I mean? Like really kind of coming into our lives as very, very, very anti, and I'm still anti in so many ways, but I've slowly started to dabble in it, and it is amazingly helpful in tiny ways. I mean, there's huge ways you could be using AI, and I'm not doing any of those huge things yet, but I struggle. I'm not a natural writer, but I have to write a lot, and luckily I have people that also that are good writers and great writers and help me write things. But still, I'll get frustrated that I can't make that sentence work that way. So just the tiniest way of using AI. But what's so crazy about me and my brain is I'll tell AI to help me write this thing, not a whole press release, but just like these sentences, this paragraph, and then it'll do it wrong. I won't agree with it, and by the time I tell it a million different ways I want to write these two sentences, I'll finally get to how I want to write the two sentences. Anyway, I am dipping my toe into using it a little bit. And for me, I don't see it replacing humans because I still am whatever version of a perfectionist. So I still want humans to look at things and help me with things. And I love, by the way, in my little tiny way, I love that Green Galactic is a source of income for not just me, but for other humans. Like,
How cool is that?
there's no way that I want, I'm just one little tiny business owner, but there's no way that I want machines to downsize humans because that's part of community too, is we all work together and we all need each other to do our different wonderful things in life. So yeah, I don't want the machines to take over and rise above us humans.
They
But
might
I hope
do
that it can
so.
help us in amazing ways with,
I hope.
science and health and things like that. And not warfare and not spying and all the horrible things that it is doing right now.
You know, I'm thinking now, with that said, you are considering that AI is next level and at some point you have to adapt.
And use it for good.
Okay,
Like
good.
use it for good, not for
Uh,
evil.
okay, okay. Looking back on everything, including bartending, Detroit, running a bi-coastal PR firm, what stays the same in your mission, and what's that involved?
Um, Maybe my naive answer is it's still so exciting every day. Like the artists I get to work with, the companies I get to work with, the journalists I still, I mean, I think it's fortunate that I'm wired this way. I just love humans and interacting with humans and getting to know humans. I like interacting with strangers, with people who I already know and love. Like it's so exciting and inspiring forever, like to this day. So if you were to ask me, which you kind of maybe did already, about the future, I said this on the Dub Lab interview I did like whenever that was, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, for Green Galactic's 30th anniversary, is try to remain healthy as I age so I can keep on doing this. Like that's like kind of the bottom line.
That's number one for me. I learned a lot about that since COVID, and I'm continuously changing the way I eat. I don't know if this is stupid, but I don't think it's stupid because I know when I was eating in America, I was eating bad,
Mm,
fast foods, not the freshest foods. Coming to Germany and to Europe, I've learned how to eat better. I've learned
hmm
how to, uh, since COVID has been such a milestone. My daughter called me old man for once, so I said, "Okay, I'm going to give you some six packs now." She was only teasing, but I was already kind of in this mental state of I was a professional dancer, and I'm feeling like I'm a thin guy, but when you get thin, you get a belly. And I started to go to the gym 3 times a week
That's so
and
good.
yeah, and focus on what my intake is so that I can perform as long as I can and have this love and passion and energy that I protect with everything, my love, my energy, my positivity. You know, I'm lost people, but for me, it's like I'm so. The word is grateful. I'm totally grateful to know where I was, where I was, where I come from, and where I am today, and I can say. And a lot of people have told a lot of people tell me, "Oh my God, you look great. What are you doing?" You know, and there's a lot of them that maybe 20, 30 years, I would say 15, 20, yeah, and look older than me. And they have, and I think we talked about mindset, being healthy, being happy, serving others, you know, other than yourself, these kind of things. This, as far as I'm concerned, keeps me feeling young and defending myself against people that may say, it's not that easy or so and so. No one says it's easy, but the mindset is there, and I will not change that mindset because I'm getting positive results. And those positive results says keep going and challenge yourself all the time. So getting back to before we close here, I want to say that I have total respect and understanding of what it takes to run a small, trusting agency like yours, and those people that are that are got your back now, boy. Can you name them?
Well, I just did like my guys that are working with me right now are
And, I
like
guess the
Charlie and
clients,
says,
the ones,
"Oh,
the ones that are working with you now that got you, your most important clients that you can say, "Hey, look, my experience, my talent, my knowledge has gotten me this."
oh yeah, I haven't really named clients, which is so ridiculous because that's such a huge part of my
That's why
world
I'm here.
and
That's why I'm
yeah,
here.
thank you. And I love getting to work with all them. So at the moment, on the music front, optometry, which is John Tejada and March Adstrom's project, and of course I get to work on John's campaigns. But shout out to Felix in Germany, who handles so much of John's and also our friends' PR campaigns around Europe, but certainly around the world. We love Felix. Um, and Mount Wilson Observatory, which is right here, a mile above Pasadena, on top of Mount Wilson. It's the most important observatory on the planet from the last century where humans learn their place in the universe. It's where Edwin Hubble discovered that the universe was expanding, and Shakely, whichever one of them, discovered that we weren't the center of the universe. And it just, Mount Wilson's amazing. They do concerts and films and talks and telescopes up there. It's really incredible. I can't believe I get to represent them. It's such an honor. And speaking of another venue, not an artist, because so much of my career has been artists. I've been working with, the filmmaker, the musician, the painter. But I have some really amazing venues and nonprofits right now. So another one is Alamo
Awesome.
Drafthouse Cinema. A lot of people know Alamo because it started in Austin, Texas in '97, and there's like over 25 different Alamo Drafthouse theaters around the country. and only one here in Los Angeles. It opened in 2019, and last September I started being their press rep. And John, I love films, and it's just an honor to work with them. They're, even though they're a chain, they've been around for decades. There's just like a nerd film haven. They're so cool, and that's so fun to get to work with them. Um, and and Photographic Arts Council Los Angeles, an amazing nonprofit
Oh my
that
God. Good.
works with across all realms of lens-based art here in Southern California. They do a ton of amazing private events. If you remember, you get to do these intimate walkthroughs, at someone's, home studio or at a museum or at a gallery. But they're doing a lot of public events this year, free public events, with the support of Eastman Museum Los Angeles, which is going to be founding and building a new museum here. So I love working with them. Woman of the Year is their theme this year. And let's see, Jane McNeely, who runs Low Flow Records. She's in her early 80s, and she's a prolific songwriter, composer, lyricist. And me and Alan Avanesian help run Low Flow Records with some other talented people. That's a hoot. She's a hoot. She's such a character. Um, and off and on, I get to work with Kelly Hargraves, a fellow arts publicist, and we work on a lot of fun projects together. Alan Governor is a project we're working on right now, an amazing human based in New York and Texas, who you got to look up. Alan, Alan Governor. He is in his 70s now, and dozens of books and documentaries, and he's always championing, voices that don't get voiced enough, and populations that don't get the light, you know,
Mhm.
showing on them. And he's really amazing. I'm just so honored and thankful and excited and inspired to work with all these different creatives.
That's a huge. That's a
It's
huge. That's a
what
huge.
life's all
That's a
about.
huge list, and I'm so happy for you that your resilience and your love and your passion is just bleeding off other people. At 30, we were talking about this. We were talking about you put yourself in situations where you're so nice to people that don't deserve it. That we talk, I won't get into that one too much, but I think that's becoming of you. So when you get yourself out of that, that's it. You put yourself in another space, and you still use that talent that you have, and it brings in what you need to fulfill your destiny. In closing, let's do a closing message to our community. What was I going to say? Okay, we're followed by artists, creatives, and future brand builders, I suppose. What's something what's something you wish somebody told you back when you started?
Oh, well, I don't know if this sound financial literacy.
Mm.
I didn't get that message from my parents, and I can't blame them because I've been on the planet for many, 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 many decades. But yeah, I mean, it's the pro and the con of everything. Like the pro, I'm happy go lucky. I'll land on my feet. Things will work out. But I wish I was a little
Me
bit
too.
more planning, goal oriented with like financial security and even health. Like there's things I could have should have been doing, you know, with my health, and workout and eating. Anyway, just I remember my mom saying that habits are hard to break. And I was like a teenager, and I was like, oh, what does she know?
What is it?
I mean, it's just a habit. You can build good habits. And wow, is she right? It's really hard to break bad habits, and it's really hard to, get into a good habit. And a shout out to a book that I really liked a lot called Atomic Habits.
Oh yeah,
And
I
that
have it.
author,
Yay!
yeah, it's pretty great. And he's got a great newsletter that he sends out. What the heck is his name? Um, but anyway, so yeah, those kind of things. financial literacy and just like building good habits because they're hard to build when you're older, I think.
Okay, good. That's good. That's a good note to go off on. Lynn, it's been wonderful, and I know that uh, you were reluctant to get into, and you call yourself ranting. But
So,
what I mean, and
well, thank you.
to listen can be hard if your mind in the day and age we live in, and everyone's going and going. You know, I have I have many tell me, maybe it's a little bit too long. Maybe you should cut this, and maybe you should edit this and edit that. I said to myself, yeah, I will get to that. But if I cut the things that I feel that has been so inspiring to me, and where I did, where I didn't even know it, and then it's part of being creative, and sometimes you have to mute the noise. And I found that me doing this fulfills where it may not be now, but maybe it's down the line, but I feel like this is something I want to document. And this is something for me, it's almost like a book for me. So I can always go back and remember how Lynn started 30 years ago. And those of you that are listening to Decisive now, you will know that Roberto is totally into creative people that may not be superstar celebrities, but there's people that are in the trenches, that some people ask me, how'd you get here and why are you that? And I ask myself sometimes, who are those people that were there for me and have been there? And I've been able to like have a platform where I can say, I'm gonna go talk to Lynn and see what happened. And I'm gonna talk to those people that I feel that has inspired me. So with that said, thanks to you for sharing and being vulnerable to everyone. And not, I don't feel like you should be apologetic. What is say unapologetic to what is the real is something that is real. And I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing things in their lives, where they're thinking about what you said today that they could kind of say, okay, yeah, maybe it is okay that I, you know, push through and not doubt myself so much. So that for me, at the end of the day, that's what I think we've done here today. And I
Well,
hope,
thank you, Roberto.
yeah. And
Thank you
well,
so much for inviting me. I'm sorry Zoe couldn't join us today. I hope you feel better, Zoe.
hope
I
you
was
feel
looking
better,
forward to
Zoe.
conversing with you too.
And
So
with
thank
that
you
said,
guys.
thank each and every one of you, few that tuned in today, but I will be editing this video and I will be making sure that you can recap and listen back. We will be listing your names and your shout outs, Lynn, so that, so
Uh-oh.
that, yeah, so we can have that in our description so that we know who we recognize and who we appreciate, and we show them that that we have thought of them. So with that said, thanks to each and every one of you for listening in, and don't forget to join us again for I'm gonna have to say that I'm hoping that you will come back and actually reach out and find us on Decisive Podcast Series on, what are we on? We're on Spotify, Apple Music, we're on Instagram, and also Podomatic. And then you get all, if you don't want to be here on YouTube, you can go check out the audio on those platforms. So with that said, thanks a lot again, Lynn, and we will see you later.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really
Bye,
appreciate it.
everybody.
Bye.